Good morning. We are live, I believe. Yes, Thursday, 11th June. Good morning. How are we? Give me a hello if you're coming in. Hope you're well, and wanted to jump on today and cover a question I had yesterday from one of the ladies just starting on a 28-day kickstart. And she said that, a lot of what she's actually seen me say, some of it is contradictory to some of the stuff she's heard before, and how everything you hear, everyone has the best diet. This is the best diet. This is the best diet. And it can get quite confusing, and I get it. It can seem like experts change their mind all the time. It can seem like 1 minute it's low carb, 1 minute it's low fat. And what I want to do today is just break down why these diets work in a nutshell, and how you can use them to fit your lifestyle. Because really, they'll all work if they create a calorie deficit. There was the biggest study they did, in pretty much the most comprehensive study, where they put people in a very strict setting so they could essentially feed them, so there wasn't any lying in the food intake, etc. So they could see what would happen if someone ate a low carb diet versus a low fat diet but kept the calories the same. Lo and behold, pretty much no difference. So it didn't matter. Now, the good news about this is, obviously, in a general approach, both ways work. And that should give you the confidence and the flexibility to know that if you eat a potato, it's not going to make you fat alone. If you eat some butter, the same applies. Calories are king here, and that doesn't mean you have to count them. And I'm going to go over essentially how all these other diets work. So then you've got like Slimming World, Weight Watchers, which all work for a lot of people, which is great. And if they are, keep doing them. I actually honestly say this, like, if something's working for you, keep doing it. Calorie counting, you got Lighter Lives, shakes, all sorts of things, which are all tactics. So the way I want you to see this is, imagine you've got calorie deficit in the middle here. So you've got calorie deficit, which is here. Then around it, you've got all these tactics. So calorie deficit is the principle. And if any of these diets adhere to this principle, it will work for you. Now, how easy it is to stick to and how it fits your lifestyle is another factor. And if you ask me, that's probably the key thing. And some of the ladies who've had the best results, I would say, and the ladies who I work with who seem to have the biggest transformation, are the ones who essentially go through have a few things in common, if you ask me. So this might sound obvious, but they know where they are right now. And something that we did last week on Monday of day one of our kickstart was, it's essentially a self-awareness checklist, if you like, to see where you're at with your fitness, with your food, with your self-care. And it just takes a step back to see, it's quite powerful actually, to see where you actually could get the biggest win for the least amount of effort. Because I know it sounds really obvious, but sometimes it's not the diet that needs to change. It's just that we need to prioritize a bit of self-care so that we have a bit more energy, because so much willpower, so much motivation comes from having energy to just do it. Like, you have a better night's sleep and all of a sudden the stresses that stressed you out yesterday aren't so kind of big on you or all of a sudden, and you can feel like you can cope with them more. So sometimes, though, it is the food element. Sometimes we do need to look at that, and that's why at the start it's good to get that self-awareness checklist, if you like. Then too, they actually want to change, and this sounds really obvious, but I think it's a point that's not brought up a lot, is that sometimes we think we want to change, but it's actually based on what someone else has said we should do, or someone else has done it, so we think we should do the same, which is fine. You might actually just be happy the way you are, and that's okay too. And actually putting the pressure on yourself to do something that you don't want to do could actually be quite detrimental to it, and actually make you feel rubbish, and even cause more kind of stop-starting, and actually be the problem in itself. Now, what I'm getting at with these points here is, there's a saying by Maslow: I suppose it is tempting if the only tool you have is a hammer, to treat everything as if it were a nail. And it's so true. It's like, it worked for me, low carb, so it must work for you. And it's just not how it works. So number 3, they make it simple, because the simple advice is the best advice. Sometimes I've worked with people who've done every diet going, and we've had that accountability, and we've gone, right, you're going to eat protein at every meal today. And that sounds so simple, but subconsciously then people eat less. 1, they're more aware of it, of what they're doing. 2, protein will help keep you full up. And 3, they're getting confidence from actually doing it, rather than, right, I'm going to plan my meals, and this is fine, by the way, but this is not, it just depends on you. I'm going to plan my meals, I'm going to get up at this time and do exercise because it burns more fat, all these things, and I'll go, but this week's going to be hard, so I'll do it next week. And I guess the point there is that they just get started. Number 4 is not to go too extreme with like restrictions all at once. Like, this can work, but I guess you've got to define work in how long it works for. Do you just go back to where you were? Is there an end date? Because when there's an end date, that's sometimes the issue. I can't wait till this diet's over so I can live. I don't know. And lastly is just don't do it alone. Like, even that can be as small as telling your other half or family members what you're doing and just saying, right, who's up for doing it with me? Or getting a support buddy, a friend. It's like surrounding yourself with like-minded people, which is like we do in the 28-day kickstart, and having that accountability partner. And I think the psychological side of this is so overlooked, and it's why, in fact, tonight we have Dr. Adam Bibby coming in, who's been on the podcast, by the way. Morning, Kim. He's been on the podcast, and he'll be talking about not just motivation in general, but actually sustaining motivation. So how do you sustain motivation essentially after that honeymoon period? And, I can give you a few ways to do it now if you want, but the key thing is that you've got to be involved in it. Like, you can't just, the reason a lot of people lose motivation is because there's a plan. You open the book, this is the plan, and it's like, oh, great. And then after a few weeks, it's like, or a month, we don't really like being policed, if you like. Although we think we do. We don't like having that rule done for us. And this can be a good way to start, but then it's like, things can change. Like, a plan has to be adaptable, in my opinion. So a few weeks in, it might be like, right, what were you enjoying from this? Well, I like that, I don't like that. Okay, so now when we do the workouts, you're going to pick more of them because you enjoy them more. So why don't you do this day, and this day, and we'll do that from there. So then you're starting to choose what you like to do. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't have to do the chore bits. No, they're just there to see, if you like them. Some people love them more, but they're a chore for you. Oh, I'm loving this, but I don't like having to eat this. Well, you don't have to eat it. Let's do this, this, and this. And we can adapt what I said before in terms of the habit. So it might be that instead of just eating 3 protein portions a day, we now couple in the vegetable side of it. We may add a rule, depending on you, that you only eat when you sit down. Whatever. It really simple things. We start to couple these in together, but when you're ready. It may be that you go, you know what? Yeah, I need to see how much I'm eating. Okay, cool. I'll help you. Let's track some calories for half a week, a few days. So actually eye-open a bit. It's like, wow, didn't know my healthy granola was looking like that. I could have a fry-up now. And now I'm full up till dinner. Sorted. That's a genuine example, by the way. So I hope that helps. And yeah, just coming at it from a different angle, in that sometimes we're too quick to blame a food or a type of exercise, etc. When actually, if we look at it from a whole, is it that it just doesn't fit our lifestyle? Is it that we're just not, it's just too complicated to take action with it? And if so, always stand back and say, okay, if I had 15 minutes 3 times this week, so 15 minutes 3 times this week, what would I do in those 15 minutes? In fact, let me know what you would do. So if you had 15 minutes 3 times this week, what would you do in those 15 minutes to make the biggest progress with your goals? I'll give you mine. I would spend the first 5 minutes, the first 15 minutes, if you like, making sure that I stocked the fridges whether that was an online shop or what, with just good stuff, like making sure I had whole foods in there, lots of protein, vegetables, fruit, etc., to make my environment a lot easier to stick to. Then, once that's done, I'd make sure I had some skeleton of meals. Then the other next 15 minutes, I'd focus on the exercise because it makes me feel better. That exercise becomes the key domino, if you like, because when I exercise, I generally feel better, have more energy, I'll generally eat better. So it's like a nice domino effect. So let me know what you would do, because sometimes it's more simple than you think, and everyone has 15 minutes or even 5 minutes. You know, start small. Think today, what one thing could I do today that if I did would have the biggest impact on my progress? If you want to start there, start where you feel comfortable with. And if you focus on today, you're always focusing on the future. And what I mean by that is eventually the future will become today. So if you just go, right, I'm going to focus on that, focus on that, focus on that. What's the one thing I can do today? All of a sudden, you might not have changed the world with your meal planning, but actually 7 days has gone and you've done 7 habits. Not bad. And if you've done 6, 5, 4, just win the game, win the week. Start small. Don't beat yourself up. Remember what you would say to a friend who came to you feeling the same. Morning, Diana. Hope that helps. Any questions, let me know. Have a lovely Thursday, nearly throughout the day, and speak soon.